Hello everyone. Today we are going to present our disease to you guys, and our disease is cholera. And I'm Vicky. So as you can see in the picture, people get really sick, and also a lot of people die from it every year. And in this presentation, we're going to tell you guys more about disease, more information, how it is going to transmit, how to prevent it, and how to get healed even. So first of all, let me tell you something about this disease. You guys, it has a Gram-Stain negative, and also it has a vibrio shape, which is a V shape, and also it is motile, which is you can move around freely, I suppose. And also it does not have spores. And the capsule is an interesting one. The cholera serial group 01 does not have a polysaccharide capsule, but the serial group 0139 does contain a polysaccharide capsule, which I have no idea why. And the toxins is cholera toxins, obviously.
Okay, so I have the reservoir, and the reservoir for cholera is the main one is contaminated water. Also, people can be a reservoir, and food just kind of carries it along. It can be the carrier. And as mentioned, again, contaminated water is the main reservoir for cholera. And this usually comes from a person who is already sick and they use the restroom and they don't use a sanitary place to go to the restroom, and it gets in the water and then contaminates the water, and then those who use the water to wash their hands, to cook, to clean, anything dealing with water, it can get into their system, and that's how it can spread, is by the use of contaminated water. And also, as mentioned, food can kind of carry it to a person. And one of the main food sources that really need to be well taken care of and well cooked is shellfish or any type of seafood, because obviously fish live in water, and if someone eats fish that has been living in the contaminated water, then this can also cause them to become really sick and receive the bacterium Vibrio cholerae.
Hello, my name is Juhun. I'm going to talk about signs and symptoms of the cholera. Signs: dehydration, lethargy, dry eyes, dry mouth. Symptoms: diarrhea, tachycardia, which is a rapid heart rate, vomiting, reduced or no urine, low blood pressure. Some other symptoms of cholera include headache, nausea, muscle cramps, sunken eyes, and loss of skin elasticity. Most people exposed to the cholera bacterium don't become ill and never know they've been infected, because they shed cholera bacteria in their stool for 7 to 14 days. They can still infect others through contaminated water. Most symptoms cases of cholera cause mild or moderate diarrhea that's often hard to distinguish from diarrhea caused by other problems. According to the CDC, cholera infection is often mild or without symptoms, but can sometimes be severe. Approximately 1 in 10 infected person will have a severe disease characterized by profuse watery diarrhea, vomiting, and leg cramps. In these people, rapid loss of body fluids leads to dehydration and shock. In general, children with cholera have the same signs and symptoms adults do, but they are particularly susceptible to low blood sugar due to fluid loss which may cause altered state consciousness and coma seizures. Um, Transmissions, according to CDC, cholera bacterium is usually found in water or food sources that have been contaminated by feces from a person infected with cholera. Cholera is most likely to be found and spread in places with inadequate water treatment, poor sanitation, and inadequate hygiene. The cholera bacterium may also live in environment in brackish rivers and coastal waters. Shellfish eaten raw have been source of cholera, and a few persons in the U.S. Have contracted cholera after eating raw and undercooked shellfish from the Gulf of Mexico. Infection occurs through ingestions of food or water contaminated directly, indirectly by feces or vomitus of infected individuals. Cholera affects only humans. There is no insect vector or animal reservoir host. I have more research, and it says more specifically a toxin secreted by bacteria which targets receptors in the human intestine is responsible for the pathology characteristic of the disease. In areas with poor sanitation and a lack of water infrastructure, coffee pods are commonly found in drinking water, dramatically increasing the risks of a cholera infection.
Okay, so there are actually 3 different treatments for cholera. The first one is rehydration therapy, and this is when people are receiving a lot of fluid and a lot of salt, because when you have cholera, you have a lot of diarrhea, so you're losing a lot of fluid and a lot of salt, and so people need to be rehydrated with these fluids in order to help them, help sustain them. And then the second one is an antibiotic treatment, and this is mostly for those who are really ill and they're in the hospital. So if you go to the hospital and you have cholera, they're going to give you an antibiotic treatment along with fluids, because again, fluids are going to help sustain you. But it's not as much as if you were receiving just the rehydration treatment. And the antibiotic that is their go-to antibiotic for cholera is the doxycycline. And there are some other options available for children and women who are pregnant. And it just kind of depends on your body and what you're going to, what your body's going to use to help fight off this bacteria. And the third treatment is a zinc treatment, and this is actually, they did this treatment on children. And so what they did is, they were also giving them, the hydrate, they were hydrating them, and they also gave them this supplement of zinc, and it actually helped tremendously. And it actually reduced it to about 8 hours of them having constant diarrhea, which is a huge benefit. So they found that zinc can actually be a great help as well. So there are actually 5 different prevention tips that are mentioned to help prevent receiving the disease cholera. And the first one is to drink and use safe water. Again, this is because contaminated water is the main reservoir, and so you want to make sure you're drinking safe water and using it in all aspects of life. And if you go to a place, a third world country, they don't have safe water, make sure you boil it. You want to just take all the precautions you can in order to be safe. Also, when you're washing your hands, you want to make sure that you're using clean water and soap. And again, this is just to help prevent contaminated water to get in your system. When you use the restroom, you need to make sure that you do not use any source of body of water. So no oceans, rivers, lakes, anything like that. You want to make sure that you are using a toilet, you're using an outhouse, or anything like that to make sure that it's going to be disposed safely. And when you're cooking food, again, food can be a carrier, so you need to make sure that your food is well cooked. And when you're eating fruits and vegetables, you want to make sure that they're peeled and they're really clean and washed out. And make sure your food is, you want to make sure that when when you're heating it, it's hot, just in case it didn't get cooked before. And when you're cleaning, again, you want to make sure that you're using safe water, especially in the kitchen, because again, you're going to be involving a lot of food. So you want to make sure that it's clean in there. And also in where a family bathes, you want to make sure that that is also clean and that you're using safe water. So there are actually some vaccines available for cholera, and the first one is Vaxchora, and this is an attenuated live. And this is just where the microbe is able to it's still alive, but it's not going to reproduce enough to cause even more sickness. And this is the only one that is offered in the United States. The other ones are worldwide, but they're not offered in the United States. And this is the Dukoral and the Shancol and the Uvicol Plus, and these are both inactivated, so that means the microbe cannot reproduce whatsoever.
So cholera is a very serious problem, especially in the third world countries, which is developing countries, because the people in those countries lack of access to clear water due to the poor hygiene environment. Approximately 120,000 people die from cholera each year, and the infection rate is increasing every year. And victims are mostly children. Hallmarks of the epidemiology of cholera include 1. A high degree of infection due to location and season. 2. Children that are 1 to 5 years old in the area of endemic infection has the highest rate of infection. 3. Antibiotic resistant patterns change every year. 4. Clonal diversity of epidemic strains. 5. Through improving sanitation and hygiene and pre-existing immunity to prevent disease. This disease causes diarrhea and vomiting, which leads to dehydration, which is a very serious problem because it will lead to death. Millions of people in Yemen have suffered from famine since 2015 because of the civil war. The source of clean water become harder and harder to find, and cholera has spread through the communities and become a really serious problem. Although the contraction of the disease has been slowing down, doctors are concerned that will not last very long. They are worried about other diseases that will spread and cause people to die. Because of the quick response by the non-governmental organizations, even though there were 2,227 people died until December 2017, the survival rate is relatively high according to WHO, the World Health Organization. So as you can see, this disease is very powerful and a lot of people get really sick and die from it. And the best way not to die from this disease is to prevent getting one. And preventing a disease is always the best solution. So thank you.